spent any amount of time on Instagram, strolled through a nearby city, or walked through a middle to high-range lifestyle store, you've probably run into what's known as Hygge. Drop that hashtag into Instagram alone, and there are 2 million posts consisting of reclaimed wood, woolly socks, and cups of hot cocoa. Hygge is a Scandinavian lifestyle and can be most easily described as the encapsulation of coziness, warmth, well-being, and comfort. It's the insular complement to the dead of winter, and we can specifically thank the Danish for this way of living. In many ways, it has come to replace the often Japanese-inspired Western lexicon of simplicity in a way that is more culturally familiar for Americans. I recently had a chance to visit Copenhagen in Denmark to film, which is home to the Happiness Research Institute, founded by Mike Viking, the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Little Book of Hygge. That's him.
Hygge is being consciously cozy, but it has also been described as the art of creating a nice atmosphere. It's been called the pursuit of everyday happiness. It's also been called socializing for introverts. But it's about being together with the people you love. It's about relaxation. It's about indulgence. It's about good food. It's about gratitude. It's about equality. All those things mixed together is Hygge.
I walked the entire perimeter of Copenhagen, completely taken aback by the design sense, the people, and the true sense of what Hygge really is. And it had me wondering, where can I find Hygge in video games? Let's talk about it. I'd like to start with the most obvious. For the uninitiated, Animal Crossing is a life simulation title where you take on the role of a mayor of a town, get involved with the community, decorate your home, complete environmental tasks, and overall participate in small town events all along a calendar that mimics a real-world calendar. The task of being actively involved in small town living invites facilitating and maintaining a kind of social positivity, alongside procuring a comfortable atmosphere in order to maintain that equilibrium. This has always been, at the cost of the player's constant attention, a top priority in being a present and respectable mayor. And in a need for peaceful menial tasks and a priority of building and designing a proper house to suit it, you have many basic tenets for Hygge. Visually, the lush outdoor environments, shifts in daytime, shifts in seasons across the franchise, and the chibi-like designs, they all kind of create something warm and moody that you couldn't help but play near a fireplace. My goal was finding diverse expressions of Hygge, so having 2 Nintendo titles isn't ideal, but I'd be remiss if Yoshi's Woolly World wasn't included for its on-the-nose visual reach for what many Hygge Instagrammers successfully pull off. The cozy textures of wool in socks, scarves, and sweaters. What a graphical feat and creative use of hardware overhead to focus dynamic photorealism on a single material. Nintendo uses creative applications of this familiar material to craft a literally cozy world that folds, knits, and unravels itself before the player in a way that Little Big Planet and the like fail to take proper advantage of. It's natural that an environment like this would lend itself to a simplicity and tenderness in character design and a reimagination that we don't see often. Though not all of the environments share a compact, low-lit, intimate space that one would define as exclusively Hygge, the overall treatment of materials and design are right at home. In many ways, most games that lift from a token, Middle-earthen universe are primed for Hygge. Wood and leather objects, a time period that demanded candles and campfires, a context that predates modern technologies and encourages small fellowships or solitude, commitment to nobility and togetherness. All of these qualities are currency, but World of Warcraft does it in a way that Elder Scrolls and the like fumble visually and contextually. It's Blizzard's stern commitment to cartoons and big, rounded caricatures that make the local tavern filled with the music of bards, or honestly, every race's home environment its own language of Hygge. There was never anything quite like running down the road in the evening to find this warmly lit space where your friends might be waiting, with the sounds of clinking glass and humming of burly travelers. This was all very, very intentional. Blizzard knew exactly what they were creating. It's these simple moments that have many excited for World of Warcraft Classic. But as much as I can go on, I'd rather spare everybody me waxing poetic about vanilla and save it for a separate video. On Twitter, environment artist Jane Ng shared her confusion around a lot of people referring to Firewatch as a minimalist game. I echo that confusion, and I think that this is a classic case of having a limited vocabulary to describe how the visuals of that title made us feel. There was a visual and conceptual stripping away of things that made Firewatch's environment feel as if it was presenting more with less. Maybe essentialism is a more fitting term than minimalism. Much like the cell shading techniques of Automodelista, instead of gradients, we had these hard shadows cast on every object, and that deconstructed realism presents a kind of simplicity that is easily digestible for the eyes. I can see from there how someone might use the word minimalism, though it's a bit of a far reach. That, in combination with a color palette that offers playful shifts in hue along highlights and shadows, this can make parts of a forest seem almost like a playroom. The wilderness becomes incredibly comfortable. Solitude was a paramount feature of Firewatch's environment. There were a lot of unknowable areas that made what you were given something substantial and not overwhelming to work with. It honestly allowed me to connect to it quickly and not only focus on the human connection with Delilah, but also a sense of virtual solitude. The combination of all of these things created an odd sense of Hygge in the space. The final spot that I had in my notebook is a split. It's two titles from the same franchise that I feel exemplify Hygge in their visual and sonic atmosphere. Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy IX. Nice. A unique fetishization of Dutch architecture and Western folklore is a small part of the lexicon for a classical JRPG world. Final Fantasy VI and IX do an impeccable job at capturing this in both the 2D and 3D space respectfully. Additional appreciation of the original PlayStation's papier-mâché-like graphics in IX that created an approachable mood that I wish some indie developer would lift for their first breakout eye candy title. These environments, whether it be a cobblestone country town or a warm tavern, all capture something that Square has been perfecting for decades at this point. It doesn't just take these two titles to find the town center, the town with an E at the end, with an incredibly welcoming inn owner, wood finishes, red carpets, anything and everything that recreates a particular sense of home and peace. In Final Fantasy VI, it's Narshe. In Final Fantasy IX, it's Alexandria. In 1, it's Cornelia. In 2, it's Altair. In 3, it's In 4, it's Baron. In 5, it's Toul. And 7, 8, 10, 12, and 13 are set a bit too far in the future and past to capture what we're talking about. Squaresoft practically introduced me, and probably many of us, to the prototypical Hygge environment. And with great irony, considering I discovered it through an Eastern lens before a Western one. Copacetic. Thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun putting this list together, and I want to know which games you feel exhibit the best Hygge. Definitely leave a comment. I'm also on Twitter at SatchelDrakes and Instagram at satchel.drakes if you'd like to follow and share with me there.